Kazakhstan has chosen the multi-vector integration. Its trends, collisions and prospects are coming up in the Single Market program.
Hello, my name is Pavel Koktyshev, and you're watching Single Market. The Astana Economic Forum, the most reputable dialogue platform in Central Asia for tackling the issues of the global economy. This year, the forum will be celebrating its anniversary, 10 years since it was launched. This symbolic milestone demands, in the good sense of the word, a special format for this jubilee meeting. Our correspondent will continue the story. In order to clearly mark the Jubilee format of the Astana Economic Forum, it would be logical to embark on a historical journey. June 2008. The leading rating agencies have a somber forecast. The world financial system is in a zone of turbulence. A crisis is threatening the economy. Less than 2 weeks remain until the moment when the world finds itself at the mercy of the storm. And it was during this difficult period that Central Asia's dialogue platform for global problems was launched, the Astana Economic Forum. The forum appeared during a period as a response to the global financial and economic crisis, a crisis which affected 80% of the world economy. The main special feature of the forum, which will be celebrating its 10-year anniversary in June, entails discussion of economic problems that affect all countries of the world, regardless of their geographic location, level of development and growth prospects, while in a balanced manner, listening to the most diverse opinions. By looking at the topics of the Astana Economic Forum, it is possible to tell which questions during that period were the most pressing. Some topics of the forum address the wider situation and the pivotal spirit of that time. Current aspects of economic development at the backdrop of globalization. Economic security in the system of global risks. The new decade, challenges and prospects.
I think we're right in the middle of a historic shift in the world to the east. So I like to call it the tilt to the east of the global economy. So 5 years ago, it was a G7 dominating the world. Today, very quickly after the global financial crisis in 2008, we shifted to the G20 context. In the G20 context, I think new countries play much larger roles in the global economy. Kazakhstan serves as a bridge between East and West.
The rhetoric of the key topics of previous Astana forums reveals the main subject of discussions and the potential commentary that could follow. For example, the message of the 8th Astana Economic Forum, infrastructure, the driver of sustainable development. Conditions that are necessary to survive on such a large territory include a reliable, unfailing, and economically accessible infrastructure. A lot depends on the speed with which you can deliver the products to your consumers, on the domestic market, external markets, because this includes China, the European Union, countries of Asia, Iran, or Vietnam and Egypt. The same constructive approach is weaved into the theme of the 9th Forum, New Economic Realities, Diversification, Innovation and the Knowledge Economy, which considers the option of investing into human capital as an optimal scenario of diversification.
Having good education, good human capital will increase productivity in Kazakhstan and will create, a major important network of small, medium companies. So this is what I think Kazakhstan should do. You cannot, move away from oil overnight. It will take time, but you can use what you bring in terms of windfall and savings during the good boom to start really push this structural reform, creating a vibrant private sector, becoming more competitive, increasing productivity.
And finally, the theme of the 10th Milestone Forum, New Energy, New Economy. This theme states, calls upon and convinces that the future of humanity is tied to energy and the economy, which are in harmony with the environment. That is why both the 10th Astana Economic Forum and the International EXPO 2017 exhibition in June will become the main platforms for the world to not only showcase, but also discuss everything that is connected with the global problem of humanity.
Because Kazakhstan has already understood that the growth of the future is green growth, that growth based on fossil fuels is a dead end. It doesn't take you anywhere. And in order to lay the foundations for an economic system which can continue to deliver growth for future generations, you need to lay foundations for the green economy. And we've been helping Kazakhstan on their vision.
A separate topic of the Astana Economic Forum are its participants and speakers. Among them, there are reputable experts on global issues, representatives of the elite of global politics, leading international organizations, financial institutions, transnational companies, and influential societies, such as the Madrid Club and the Reinventing Bretton Woods Committee. The range of symbolic personas include Nobel laureates Robert Mundell, Robert Auermann, Finn Kydland, and of course John Nash. This scientist, whose story was portrayed in the movie A Beautiful Mind, will always remain in the history books of the Astana Economic Forum as an embodiment of an ingenious mind that was far ahead of his time.
I don't like the phrase developing and developed myself in a way they're sort of illogical. It's sort of like a country like Australia is considered developed and a country like China is considered developing. But really, historically, it's the opposite. I guess there's ancient history in Kazakhstan yet, but there's a lot of very recent history as far as who is here. So it's much more like Australia than like China.
Having established a dialogue platform in the format of the Astana Economic Forum, Kazakhstan on the one hand predicted how relevant and valuable it is to discuss the contemporary geo-economic problems and to seek anti-crisis solutions. On the other hand, over these 10 years, the forum has raised Kazakhstan's and its capital city's reputation to one of recognizable and reputable for the entire global community. Recommendations developed during the exchange of opinions that happens during sessions, conferences and discussions at the Astana Economic Forum draw the attention of the United Nations and other reputable organizations. And this attests to the high assessment of the work of the Astana Economic Forum. Maria Kuznetsova, Askar Aitkenov, exclusively for Single Market. Another symbolic event that will take place in June in Astana is the International EXPO 2017 exhibition themed Future Energy. With this event, Kazakhstan is testing not just the times, but also the current realities, prospects and hopes. This is the perspective that our Navigator correspondent Alexander Galiyev offers us in his report on the EXPO 2017. I will start off this edition of the Navigator report with a prologue. Are you interested in combining business with pleasure, seeing the world of the smartest and most advanced technologies in the spheres of energy, and at the same time immersing yourself into the atmosphere of endless festivity? Welcome to Astana for EXPO 2017. Kazakhstan's portfolio of this exhibition is quite impressive. It includes excursions through thematic and national pavilions, a dense cultural program, thrilling sporting events, a real Viennese ball, and many other events. Unfortunately, within the framework of our report, it is impossible to cover all the events and happenings of EXPO 2017, which is why I will focus on the key ones. On the 19th and 20th of June, within the framework of EXPO's business program, the World Congress of Engineers and Scientists will be held. On 29th of June, the entire exhibition period of the International Forum Future Energy will commence. And now let's turn to some of the pavilions. One of the biggest is the Pavilion of China, its total area around 2,000 square meters. This size is justified by the technological achievements of the country in the field of renewable resources. China holds the #1 position in the world in terms of transformation of water energy and second in harnessing wind energy. The country is also advancing successfully in the sphere of transforming solar energy. The Pavilion of Finland, the economy of which is positioned as a union of clean technologies, innovations, and considered use of natural resources, is also quite impressive. One can see the most modern equipment for cleaning water, recycling waste, and efficient use of energy. The most insightful from the perspective of the most promising technologies in the sphere of energy is the thematic pavilion Best Practices Zone. Kazakhstan's national pavilion looks like a space station from science fiction movies. It is located at the base of the central object of EXPO 2017, the sphere. Our pavilion is comprised of a number of floors, each of which symbolizes a concrete theme. For example, space, solar, water, and wind energy. A separate floor is dedicated to Astana, the way it will look by 2050. The cultural program provides a unique chance to the guests of the exhibition to see the collections of the world's greatest museums without having to leave the city. Kazakhstan's National Museum has taken on itself the role of a universal exhibition floor of the world's greatest treasures. Among them, China's terracotta warriors army of the Imperial Qin dynasty. The famous warriors stand tall in full gear, the uniform with arms and decorations. The motives of the army theme can also be traced in the collection of St. Petersburg's Hermitage. The exhibit includes the weaponry items of the east and west of a set period, from the 15th to the 19th century. The treasures of the tomb of the pharaoh Tutankhamun are also competing for the status of the most precious artifacts, literally and symbolically. They are exhibited at Kazakhstan's National Museum within the framework of the exhibition Monuments of Ancient Egypt. And it would not be too much to add that for EXPO 2017 exhibition in Astana, an entire star troupe of virtuosos of the opera world, famous musicians, and from the pop scene performers will be here. That's all from me. Do not forget that the history of EXPO 2017 is being written right here before our eyes, and you too can take part in it. Until next time on Single Market. The Eurasian Economic Union, World Trade Organization. Kazakhstan's participation in these global projects have raised the level of competition on the domestic market. But this is an objective reality which is further motivating the country's economy towards development. Anarta Stambekova brings us the story on how the country's light industry mobilized its organizational resources in order to overcome the challenges of the transition period. Last year, Kazakhstan's light industry produced goods in the amount of 79 billion and 44 million tenge. In comparison with 2015, the production volume increased by 14%. At the same time, it must be admitted that the share of this sector in the country's GDP is still too small, 0.43%. But if we take into consideration the collisions that occurred in 2016 overall on the country's economic arena, then the growth rate indicator of 14% is still quite reassuring. At least because the positive dynamic is being observed in a sector which is constantly experiencing the difficulties of development. One way or another, today the country's light industry is going through a new stage. And this has become possible thanks to the process of consolidation. 14 enterprises, which represent the wide range of the sphere, have created a consortium, lегпром, or light industry.
Целью создания консорциума легпром является объединение усилий.
The lегпром consortium has united the strongest producers of clothes, shoes, and knitted garments. The strongest have united in order to become even stronger, because the format of the consortium creates advantages for getting and executing large orders, which are offered within the framework of public tenders. In this field, lегпром is planning to take over 70% of all the volumes of the market. The experience of certain enterprises shows that during the tender bidding process, they have faced great challenges.
В замкнутом цикле вот в этой цепочке добавленной стоимости производить продукцию.
The vertically integrated structure on the basis of which the consortium was created will allow the participants of the alliance to demonstrate to the big clients, such as the Ministry of Defense, the entire spectrum of their possibilities. Because every enterprise plays its own concrete role in the consortium. For example, the Almaty cotton plant, Kargalı, specializes in the production of cotton fabrics. Just recently, the enterprise underwent a modernization, and today its capacity is allowed to annually produce up to 1 million meters of fabrics, including fabrics with unique properties. The Almaty cotton plant is the only enterprise which can produce blended fabrics, including ones with antibacterial and fire-resistant steeping. The next stage of the production process, which is realized within the framework of the public order, may be the Danmart factory. This is where the thermal-resistant and water-repellent fabric is used to make specialized clothing, sleeping bags, and tents. By the way, in order to make the tents, the enterprise uses an innovative technology of seam welding. Aside from centralized participation in tenders, the plans of the consortium include finding their own niche on the mass market of clothes and footwear. What's more, not just on the domestic market, but also abroad, especially since some of the enterprises that have become part of this alliance already have this experience. For example, the collection of the women's clothing from the factory Semiramida is being purchased with enthusiasm in the Siberian regions of Russia.
Мы изготавливаем изделия и 100% и шерсти.
We manufacture goods from 100% grade llama wool. We procure very high-quality fabrics. Because the fabrics are not manufactured in Kazakhstan, we have to purchase them from abroad. We take part in exhibitions and have the opportunity to procure from the plants the fabrics with the structure that we are interested in.
В комбинатах те ткани, ту структуру, которая нас интересует.
The practice of using export supplies was also taken on at some point in time by the factory Alatex, which produces cotton clothes in the casual segment.
Наша фабрика существует уже 18 лет, 2000 года на базе казахского.
We began working using the structure of Kazakhstan-Pakistan enterprise, made clothes for the US market. We did not sell here and supplied everything abroad.
Здесь в Казахстане не реализовывалась наша продукция, полностью отправлялась туда за рубеж.
The company Lегпром Almaty also has good prospects. This is the only enterprise in the CIS which simultaneously manufactures clothes and shoes. By the way, it also uses Italian technology in the production of brand shoes. This was introduced thanks to the procurement of new equipment and participation of a specialist from Italy in this project. The creation of the light industry consortium can become an example for other sectors of Kazakhstan's economy. By the way, this is how, by standing as a united sectoral front, Russian and Belarusian companies often win on the markets of the Eurasian Economic Union. It is easier together. This principle truly works at the backdrop of increased competition. What's more, it is effective. Anar Tasambekova, Anatoly Valuysky, exclusively for Single Market. The main parameters of Kazakhstan's geographic location make the country quite distinct. First of all, it is located in the center of Eurasia, at a transit intersection. Second of all, in terms of its size, it is the 9th biggest country in the world. In addition, Kazakhstan does not have direct access to seawaters, and its population density is one of the lowest in the world. But within the contemporary context, the drawbacks of its geographic location can be turned into advantages with implementation of infrastructural projects. By the way, one of such projects has been realized by Kazakhstan relatively recently. Oleg Boldarev brings us the details. In December of 2016, a symbolic event took place. The 1000th train passed through the Алтынколь station, and this was the container train that was traveling from China's city of Chongqing.
Значит, когда границу пересекает, значит, этот состав, у нас в первую очередь проходит ИДК. Есть такое у нас.
When the train crosses the border, it first goes through an inspection and monitoring complex. There are customs personnel who monitor if there are violations and which wagons have excess weight.
Там уже все видно, какие у нас есть нарушения, какие вагоны идут с перегрузом.
Aside from these procedures, the train undergoes an inspection from the quarantine and veterinary services. Up to 50 wagons or 12 trains can be serviced here simultaneously daily. The transit capacities of the station are attractive for transnational corporations.
Он едет из Китая, выходит, далее проследует через территорию Казахстана транзитом, через пограничный.
The cargo train leaves China, reaches Russia through the Iletsk border crossing, then follows en route to Belarus, through Brest, to Poland and Germany.
Выходит на Польшу и на Германию, соответственно. Терминал DIT, Duisburg International Terminal.
With the increase in cargo flow of trains going from China to Europe, the workload of the Алтынколь station increases as well. That is why the tracking of goods and keeping accounts on paper is a stage that has been passed here. Today, modern IT technologies are being used. They allow to synchronize internal and external business processes of the dry port, the transport logistic companies of China, and of the station itself. Алтынколь is equipped with a microprocessor centralized system, which has no analogs in the CIS. In addition, in order to organize the movement of trains, the newest system of interval regulation is being implemented. At the core of the way it functions is the ASUP program. This is an automated system of managing the near border station. It allows to monitor the types of cargo passing. We store the information on a central server of the customs station in Astana. The special codes are assigned there. Afterwards, there is a system of formal documentation of the sanitation and Today, the near-border station is actively cooperating with Kazakhstan's producers. Thanks to this partnership, it is possible to partially ensure the reloading of trains that are en route towards China. The prospect of creating on the territory of Kazakhstan enterprises with investments attracted from China, which are export-oriented for shipments to China, will allow to make the movement of container trains more effective. Alek Boldarev, Bakhatjan Bakhriyev, exclusively for Single Market. That's all for today. My name is Pavel Koktyshev. Kind reminder, all the episodes of our program are available on www.kazakh-tv.kz. Until next time on Single Market.